At this point, we're going to turn into, that's great. Obviously, there's a need for it. Companies should support it. How the heck are we going to get this accomplished? So to that end, we've invited Ed Wyszumiala, who is the CEO of GMP Auditing Partners, KGK Synergized Company. It's a consulting firm that helps manufacturers and ingredient suppliers solve GMP compliance problems, gives regulatory guidance, and develops best business practices. Ed has worked closely with global regulatory agencies and industry executives at over 400 companies to assure GMP manufacturing compliance and provide regulatory guidance and strategies. He has more than a decade of experience in the dietary supplement and nutritional industries with expertise in operations, business, and regulatory management and industry market trends. Prior to being the CEO of GMP Auditing Partners, Ed was the head of NSF's International Dietary Supplement Programs, where he ran and managed their GMP certification and product certification programs. So frankly, I don't think there's anyone who's more qualified to sit up here and talk to us about what kind of objective and transparent practices and policies we could possibly put in place that would enable us to create the kind of standards that would be transparent, that consumers would appreciate, and that industry would be able to successfully meet. So let me frame it this way, Ed. Trade associations, frankly, come under a lot of fire for having certifications and managing their own certifications, for awarding and doing the audits. Tell me what Organic and Natural needs to do to begin a process where it is an accurate process, it is fair, it is transparent, and it is in no way corrupt.
Well, I think the first thing that the association has to focus on is it's really the whole process of the certification program is focused for consumers. So if the association's direct focus is tailored towards education of consumers for what the mark is, what goes into that, achieving that certification, and why it's important for them to understand what that certification is, that takes it in a different direction. All too often, a lot of times, association programs are focused inwardly on work within industry, not necessarily on focusing on something that's direct for a consumer to understand. So that really has to tailor to the focus, and really who the endpoint advocate has to be considered in the certification program.
So what steps does that require? I mean, that sounds good when you say it fast. But I mean, what are the committees? What do we need to be looking at to be able to ensure that that can happen?
Well, I think you have to have an open dialogue with multiple groups outside of just the association. You have to consider other stakeholder groups such as consumer organizations, other participant pieces to certification. So if we're looking at natural, you may have multiple components that would incorporate into a natural certification. So you wouldn't be looking to do something in lieu of organic. You would want to see, organic certification sort of as a precursor step. And companies that have these precursor steps to provide transparency and traceability, those can almost sort of receive a fast pass. So when I see something that if a program is incorporating other certifications into it, it actually builds upon that transparency and ability to then enhance those other certifications. So something like a GMO certification or a food safety program such as SQF or a Global GAP or ISO 22000, those are all tools that could help fast track a company with work they're already achieving through their certification to speed up the process and build transparency into that. So you would have a governing board that would oversee and define what the standard is at the association, but then you would have a transparent separate group who would actually be performing the audits, performing the document reviews, and giving a direct break between the association and their certification program.
So are you suggesting that there would actually be companies that would not necessarily be subject to an on-site audit, or is that even I know we have talked about wanting this to be a streamlined process, wanting this to be a value add instead of a huge burden on companies, but does this mean that somebody gets a buy from an on-site audit?
Sure, there may be the occasional company that is available to have their documentation in order and have their organic certification and other potential certifications in place that would lead it to just a documentation type of a review. Other programs will need inspections. You'll want to go out and verify what's going on at their facility of production and into their systems, whether it's a food company, a supplement company, a personal care company. Each of those areas will have to have some point of review against the standards that are being determined to meet the natural certification.
Have you thought at all about what a compliance program would look like in terms of now? You've done this for a million years. So you've got everybody, you've got the seal out there, you've got people looking at it, now everybody's buying it because it has the seal on it. What's our obligation to the consumer in terms of compliance?
The obligation to the consumer is this is not a one-time, you've received the certification, you check the box and stop. It has to be an ongoing system review to verify that what is determined in the standard is actually being achieved by the company you're issuing a certificate for, especially when you're starting to look at specific product labels. Again, you may have companies where only a certain portion of their product label can be achieving this natural certification, where there may be other products in their product line that just cannot, depending on where the level of the standard is set and determined by the association and its stakeholder groups.
Doable? All of it doable?
It's doable. It's doable, but it really determines, again, what is the consumer looking for. If we're looking at a specific consumer niche where we have people who are very, very focused, such as Alan's consumer, and to very, very health-conscious consumers who are looking for something to define, we want to make sure what natural is, and trying to find that spot that can meet across multiple spectrums of consumer groups is really key. And it has to be determined through a series of dialogues between the different organizations and consumer organizations as well.
So the $100 question for me right now is, it seems obvious, but can you give a seal to a company, or is it going to be by product?
It has to be by product. A company can achieve full certification to natural based on what their whole product line could be. You could have a company that would have one product that's organic and is traceable, and it's a specific product, so they're growing potentially a specific herb that can be traced back, and yes, I can determine that that's natural. But they may have some type of other product that they're putting that material into more of a larger package of a product line that may have ingredients or process controls that would exclude it from being a certified product.
That's very useful information. I'm going to take the opportunity now to move us on to sort of the next component of this, which is now if we sort of define that as our ground rules on how we function. Let's just say that we've already decided that we have a compliance committee. We have a committee that sets standards. All of these recommendations are set to the board. There's an agreement that our organizations have to sign that they'll adhere to our values and guidelines, and yes, they will meet these standards. Well, that just leads me to one more question for you, Ed. With all of the changes that are going on with food safety, feed safety, the whole chain of custody around imports and foreign source verification of suppliers, is our job easier now that we have some of these standards coming in, for, finished product testing, environmental testing? Is this going to make our job easier because companies are going to be anxious to meet the state of the law, or are we just going to be charting new territory?
I think it's all new territory. I think it's going to take time to determine the food safety traceability that's out there right now. I think the very, very few companies out there, organic, I think, allows for the first step for traceability. But when we're looking at larger product categories right now, it's an evolving topic and an evolving market that's going to take time. And a program like this can basically become a barometer for determining where we're at in the traceability piece. Because again, we're looking to get down to some very, very specific questions, whether we're looking at meat and poultry, or we're looking at a very, very complex product like a personal care product or a supplement.
Thank you.